did Trump work with the Russians? And I told him to his face almost 2 years ago, if you did, that's it between me and you, and anything that follows, you deserve. I will say that about any politician of any party. And here's what we know 2 years later. After an exhaustive examination of the facts in this case by somebody that every American should trust, Mr. Mueller, the answer is no.
So we just watched Lindsey Graham for about 25 minutes there on the Hill. Some of the other relevant comments. He asked the question why no one informed Donald Trump to tell him that people in his orbit might be working with Russia. Then went on to say about the FISA, was it a ruse to try and get into the Trump campaign? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Lindsey Graham there. Karl Rove with me, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff and a Fox News contributor, live in Austin. Sir, good day to you. It's the first time we've had a chance to talk. Britt Hume just laid out the media, pretty much said that he's never seen something like this in his entire professional life. And as Britt said now, he's been around for a while. Your observations about what we have covered over the past 24 hours, Karl?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I think Lindsey Graham's exactly right to have said what he said to the president, and now to say that the Mueller report clearly says the president didn't involve, his campaign was not involved in collusion, and there's no grounds for obstruction. And the Democrats are now going to be on their heels. The president's been given a big victory, and we got to be careful. We do need to examine what went wrong and how. And these are big, important questions. We got to be careful how we do that, though. Britt is absolutely right. The media blew this up. Jason Leopold, I have a personal experience with him. Donald Trump and I now have something in common. Jason Leopold said, you may remember earlier this year, that BuzzFeed reported that they had absolute proof, evidence that the president had lied in this and that was going to be indicted over it. I went through the same experience with Jason Leopold in 2006. It was false then in the Valerie Plame investigation. It was totally wrong in the BuzzFeed investigation. One question is going to be, are people like Jason Leopold still going to be employed? And what is the media going to do to be more fair in their reporting on this? There were some skeptics in the media of this, particularly some sort of courageous people on the left, but the media sort of bought into this and spent all their time on it. I thought also the point about the Democrats is absolutely certain. They got a problem, and they're going to probably respond to this by making the problem worse. They're going to overreach now on the question of obstruction. We've already seen it from Jerry Nadler and others. They're going to sound like they are completely unhinged to the ordinary American voter, and that's going to be problematic for them as they approach 2020.
That question about obstruction here, too. Let me get to 2020 in a moment, too, is that Bill Barr was not isolated in a room by himself. He was in there with Rod Rosenstein and a cast of others who are on staff as well. You mentioned
career people at the Office of Legal Counsel. I mean, you know, that, and look, let's be clear about this. He was very specific. You have to have obstructive conduct. It has to be involved in a pending or contemplated proceeding, and it has to be done with criminal intent. And he said there is no ability to indict anybody on the basis of those 3 points because they are not present in the material that he and Rod Rosenstein and the career people at the Department of Justice looked at.
So you talked about Democrats and their reaction. What appears to be the collective reaction is we need to see the entire report, and maybe we do, with a few redactions on intelligence and information there. But Beto O'Rourke, let me just get to this point. Las Vegas, Nevada, I believe if the time code is correct, O'Rourke was at a coffee shop 30 minutes before the summary came out. And he said, what we know is this president, when he was a candidate for the office, sought to collude with a foreign power that was trying to undermine our democracy, which is exactly 180 degrees from what the Barr summary gave us yesterday. The question then politically is, how do they pivot to their next point? And what is that next point?
Don't expect Robert Francis O'Rourke to show any shame whatsoever about a case of really, really bad timing. And don't expect any of the rest of these Democrats who said, you know, Adam Schiff, there's been lots of evidence of collusion. Well, that's not exactly right. Don't expect any of them to show any shame on it. But they will. I think this is where the problem is going to be for them. just like the Republicans overreached in 1998, I believe the Democrats are going to overreach now by demanding the report in its entirety and by saying, well, clearly he should have been indicted on the basis of obstruction of justice. There was obstruction of justice. But their credibility is thin, and frankly, I think the American people want to pivot and get back to the important things in their life. And this brings me to a point. Everybody, I think, needs to keep this in mind. Think about the Fox poll. Who's up for grabs between now and November of 2020? In the latest Fox poll, it is 47 Biden, 40 Trump, with 13% undecided. Against Sanders, it is 44-41 with 15% undecided. And my suspicion is there are a couple of points of the people who are today with Sanders and with Biden who might be available now that this whole issue has been resolved. So roughly 1 out of every 6 voters is up for grabs. That's where everybody, particularly the Trump White House and Team Trump, needs to be focused. What do they need to do to talk about the economy and what the president wants to do next? Family leave, additional regulatory reform, whatever it is, the 1 out of 6 of the American voters who are undecided today, that's what they want to hear about, not all of this stuff that we've just gone through.
It's a great point. We'll leave it at that. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you, Karl Rove, there in Austin, Texas. Thank you.